Everyone told me I had to see a Broadway show while I was in New York City. Instead, I skipped the theater district entirely and caught a train to a converted industrial warehouse in the Brooklyn Navy Yard to experience Radiohead's dystopian sensory experiment. Full disclosure, I'm a new fan of Radiohead and trying to figure out if their massive, over $70 motion picture house Kid A and Amnesiac exhibition is worth the price. They will be traveling to other cities such as Chicago, Mexico City, and San Francisco, so I'm hoping this vlog will help you decide whether you should spend your time and money on it. Nope, we're not going to the Brooklyn Bridge. It's an immersive experience centered around two of their most experimental albums, Kid A and Amnesiac. Now let me let you in on a little secret. I'm actually a relatively new Radiohead fan. Unlike most people who discovered Radiohead in the 90s when they were in high school. No, not me. It was actually earlier this year when I was experiencing a period of burnout at my high-stress job, and then with the monotony of marathon training, along with all the injuries that were adding to my frustrations. Now, some people may think Radiohead is too depressing, but I didn't find it depressing at all. I actually found that their music spoke to me. Like, I was actually feeling like somebody was listening to me for once. I would play Idiotech on my way into work because the chaotic beats certainly felt like the mood of the ER. And then driving home from an overnight shift, I would put on Everything in Its Right Place. And then I would play their albums while I was training for my marathons and half marathon earlier this year. When I found out that they were going to extend the Motion Picture House exhibit here in Brooklyn into June and now into July, I was thrilled because I was going to be in New York City anyways at the end of June. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on Radiohead like some of the people I've seen on Reddit where there were arguments over the time signature of Pyramid Song. No, I'm not on that level. But as a relatively new fan, I do wonder how this exhibit is going to hit me. Whether you're an old fan from back in the 90s to someone new like last month or yesterday, we'll see if the Kid A Amnesia exhibit is worth it. So first of all, here in Brooklyn, it was a bit of a walk from the subway station to the Brooklyn Navy Yard because it's located at the Agger Fish Building. I had no idea that this area existed. But then again, I don't really go into Brooklyn very much when I come out to New York City. Now at first, I thought we were lost, but then again, I do see a sign over there. Sweet, we are here. We're right here now. When in doubt, follow the signs. And it looks even more industrial over here. I think there's something kind of poetic about the location of this exhibit. For a band that's always challenged people to listen differently, the experience doesn't start with a giant sign in the middle of Manhattan. It starts here, in an industrial part of Brooklyn where you have to intentionally make your way over. And as someone who's new to Radiohead, I feel like this is actually a perfect introduction. This isn't a band that you casually stumble into. You have to spend time with it. You have to be willing to sit with something unfamiliar, which is probably why Kid A and Amnesiac connected with so many people. It wasn't created to be the easiest thing to understand. It was created to make you curious. Okay, so we finally made it. We just had to walk through that Navy shipyard or whatever, and now we're here at the Agger Fish Building. Agger or Agger? 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 There's two G's. Cool, so we got our tickets scanned. We're standing in line, so this is really cool how I'm in line with a bunch of other Radiohead fans.
I don't really know much about Radiohead. The only song I can think of is Creep.
No! Don't say that. Radiohead is more than just Creep. I don't mean that I'm a snob or anything like that. I just mean that Radiohead has grown so much as a band since Creep. While Creep was a hit back in the 90s, it's a great gateway song into Radiohead. They seriously have evolved past that. The Bends is another great album of theirs, so if you really like that 90s rock, alt rock vibe, then that's a great one. I started off by listening to OK Computer, and that was perfect considering we are now in the age where we're not really sure what to do with AI. Okay, so this is exciting. We're finally moving, but we didn't wait too long. We timed it perfectly with the walk and the train and everything like that. Just make sure you allow yourself about 20 minutes of walking. Before the film starts, we have about 30 minutes to explore the artwork from the Kid A Amnesiac era. And one thing that immediately stands out is how much of Radiohead's identity exists beyond just the music. These pieces were created by Stanley Donwood, who had been collaborating with Radiohead for years, and looking at this artwork, you can almost feel the same themes that exist in the albums themselves. There's a sense of isolation, a little bit of anxiety, a feeling that something is familiar, but also slightly off. And I think that's what makes this era of Radiohead so interesting. Kid A and Amnesiac came out at a time when the world was changing, and instead of making something comfortable or predictable, the band leaned into uncertainty. As a Neil fan, I think that's what has surprised me the most. I expected to discover a band with great songs. I didn't expect to discover an entire atmosphere. And maybe that's why I connected with them during a period where I was feeling burned out. A lot of this artwork feels uneasy. It feels like trying to make sense of a world that doesn't always make sense. Which sounds heavy, but there's also something comforting about it. Because sometimes when you're exhausted, you don't necessarily need music that tells you everything is going to be okay. Sometimes you need something that understands the feeling. And walking through this exhibit, I'm starting to understand why fans have such a deep connection to this era. In contrast to the unnerving artwork, at least the porta potties were clean and provided a break from the pre-show intensity. Most high-ticket exhibits trap you in a rigid, curated path or force you to stand behind a velvet rope. But here, they give you pillows.
The seating is unconventional. It's sort of open seating. I mean, there's a little platform or there's this like square bench that everybody's sitting on, but we're actually sitting inside of the square because we wanted the back support. See? Back support, because this is a 75-minute show and I don't want to sit without supporting my back. And they also have pillows, so it's kind of like hygge. Yes, hygge, like the Danish concept of cozy. So it feels like they want you to be as comfortable as possible for this immersive experience.
So one thing I've noticed is that the experience of viewing a performance is very typical. Everybody looks at the exact same thing. Everybody sits or stands the exact same way, looking in the exact same direction. And the whole point is to have a coordinated or similar experience. This really follows what is the spirit of Radiohead, where they're questioning what do the rules mean.
It felt deeply Radiohead. They don't conform to industry standards for the sake of conforming. So why should the audience? We expect premium reclining seats at a standard movie theater, so having the absolute freedom to lay down, lean back, and experience a 360-degree sensory wall completely on your own physical terms is incredibly liberating. For a room packed with people, the respect for the environment was staggering. In a world where people routinely ruin concerts and movies by glowing like radioactive fireflies with their smartphones, this crowd bought into the silence. I only saw an occasional phone slip out towards the very end. And honestly, even I pulled out my camera to film the end credits because, just like a movie theater, you stay until the very last frame out of respect for the craft. Of course, like any good art experience, the exit takes you straight through the gift shop. And it's pretty cool seeing how much of the Kid A Amnesia world extends beyond the music. There are beautiful coffee table books showcasing the artwork, posters, shirts, and all kinds of little pieces that let fans take a piece of their era home with them. And I have to admit, I was tempted. Because when you spend time in this world, you start to appreciate that the artwork isn't just decoration. It's part of a story. But in the end, I went with something much more low-key, a keychain, and weirdly, that felt Radiohead. It's not the loudest way to show that you were here. It's not something sitting on a shelf demanding attention. It's just a small reminder that I found something new during a time in my life when I needed something different. And maybe that's fitting for a band that has always been about finding meaning in the strange, the quiet, and the unexpected. Even if you didn't buy anything, they gave you some stickers of the Modified Bear or Blinky that was by Stanley Donwood for the Kid A album. Perfect. This was going on my MacBook. And after being in a dark environment for 2 hours, being back outside in the Brooklyn Navy Yard was a relief, and I was looking for a place to process my thoughts on Motion Picture House.
I'm a little disoriented after watching that 75-minute movie. Continuing with our industrial theme, we are here outside of Wegman's in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So just right by the Agger Fish Building. We just gotten out of the Radiohead exhibit. That is the most industrial looking Wegmans I've ever seen. Yes, I know about Wegmans. When I was living in Syracuse, there were a couple of Wegmans. They were popular in upstate New York. It's not just any grocery store. It's a whole lifestyle. Not only did they have groceries, but they had a pretty extensive food bar. You can drop off dry cleaning there. There were other things, but it's been a while. It's been, 18 years. But I do remember when I first moved to upstate New York, I thought it was a little weird how people got excited over Wegmans, but it's just one of those things that you have to try. And this is also where we're gonna go sit down, relax, and kind of go over what our experience and reactions were to the Radiohead exhibit. First, of course, we're gonna pick up some snacks. Oh wow, I haven't been to a Wegmans seriously since we left Syracuse 18 years ago. Hot zone prices, yeah, well the prices were a lot different in 2007, 2008. For items without barcodes, touch the item lookup button. Okay. How appropriate. We're having lunch at Wegmans here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard right after seeing the Radiohead exhibit. So was the exhibit worth it? Absolutely. Even if you're a new fan like me, I thought it was totally worth it to come check out the exhibit. Their exhibit tackles their two most controversial albums. They were really divisive, so fans either really liked the new sound that they were heading towards because it was completely different from the Benz and OK Computer, and then there were other people who thought it was really weird. Yes, I have to admit there is a tech and surrealistic element to the albums, but it's just one of those things that the more you listen to them, the more you get it. And what I also liked about the exhibit was the unconventional seating. So the movie is about 75 minutes, and that's with credits. And I appreciate how they let you sit however you felt comfortable. So you could sit up, you could sit cross-legged, you can lay down, you do you. So it kind of goes along with the experimental vibe of their albums. Then also there was something about being surrounded 360 degrees with screens and then the animation coming up. As far as the animation goes, I thought it was artistic. So some people, they're used to like the whole Disney, Pixar, everything looks aesthetic and pretty, but not with Radiohead. I feel like they're kind of like Banksy, how Banksy says that art's not supposed to make you feel comfortable. It's supposed to give you a little bit of an unsettling feeling, and that's what the animation felt like. Hence, it was art. Of course, they played my favorite song of the two albums, which was Idiotech. The frenetic pacing and the paranoid mood of the song totally mirrors how I feel when I'm working a shift in the ER. And to see it on screen expresses exactly what I feel inside while working. And the most emotional piece of all was the song How to Disappear Completely. Now, I have to admit, I never really liked that song until today when I heard it being played surround sound and then seeing the visuals that go along with it. There was something about Tom York's raw weight of his voice just carrying the song. It just gave the song a new dimension that I didn't appreciate before. And as far as the sound quality goes, well, it was definitely surround sound. So it kind of reminds me when you go to the movie theater and you pick that choice to do that whole Dolby surround sound option. It's one thing to hear the guitar riffs and the electro-pop rhythms through your headphones, but it's another thing to feel them vibrating where you're sitting. So definitely an immersive experience. While a lot of people may say that Radiohead is this moody, depressing band, I don't think so. While this exhibit isn't like this happy-go-lucky movie like watching, Toy Story 5, the emotional journey it leads you on leaves you with a massive appreciation for the complexity of the beats, of their lyrics, of the intention. While I never got to see them live while they were touring when they were in their heydays in the 2000 and mid-2010s, I'm glad that I went to this exhibit. It just made me a bigger Radiohead fan. And I love it when musicians and artists refuse to be safe.
And that's my experience as a brand new Radiohead fan exploring Motion Picture House. What I really loved about this experience is that it didn't feel like a traditional concert or even a typical museum exhibit. It felt like stepping inside the mind of a band during a moment where they were questioning everything, their sound, their identity, and what music could even be. If you're a Radiohead fan, this is definitely something worth checking out while it's still here in Brooklyn. But if you're not in New York City, the Motion Picture House will also be traveling to Chicago, Mexico City, and San Francisco. And if you enjoyed coming along with me today, make sure to subscribe because I have more New York City and Boston adventures coming up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next vlog.